Hi, Abe.
Hey there, yo. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Ready for Shabbos?
No, I got some time still. Got a little bit of time.
This one is a real short one.
What's that?
This blood is short.
Right. We're all pretty short now. Well, that's
It's
3%.
okay. I don't mind them being short.
But we should take the opportunity to get up to date.
We still
We're still
have
actually one behind, no? We're one behind?
no, not that. We still have two more volumes of this. So like 4 more months. Hello.
Hello. Okay.
Hi,
Hi,
Harold.
Harold. Harold, I heard,
Hello.
maybe I'm wrong, but I think Palm Springs was 124 today.
Ooh.
I don't think so. I had 107. I mean, I'm home.
Yeah, I know, but I wanted to mention that
Oh,
at,
okay.
at some point it was the highest ever, I think, there.
Oh,
There's a good thing about this weather like this. You don't need to use the gas or the electric to cook.
or to heat the pool.
You put the frying pan outside and that's it. Very good.
Yes, Mario, how are you? What are we
Where
talking about? The weather.
Yeah,
It's nice and cool today.
yeah, don't forget, I lived 6 years in England, and that was the subject, the 6 years, the weather,
The weather.
I'd rather have this than England, that's for sure.
for sure.
Yeah, great.
Right.
Aaron,
Hi, Ernie. Ernie's stuck.
No, he doesn't get frozen. It's my internet.
he should go to
Right.
England.
Ernie, you stuck, buddy. Reboot.
Yeah, he needs a what do you call it, booster to
Wi-Fi booster, whatever they
Yeah.
called.
He needs an
It's a mesh
expander,
system.
it's a what?
a mesh. He needs a mesh,
Ernie.
A router.
Yeah.
a mesh, a mesh router. Okay, he left, so I suppose he's connected.
You guys hear me?
Yes,
I
now,
hear you.
Oh,
yes.
now.
Yeah, you were frozen before.
Okay, so tomorrow 6 o'clock in Shul.
Yeah.
Sunday night 8 o'clock will be the Navi Shir. Does that work
Okay.
out? Does that work out? And then let's do the Daf Yomi at 5 o'clock because I think there's a barbecue that people are going to. So let's do it earlier at 5 o'clock.
That barbecue is going to be, it's going to be at the 8 o'clock hour too, I guess, for that seal or whatever they do.
Isn't it called for at 6 o'clock?
I have no idea.
We could make it maybe at 8:30. I think doing it
What?
later than that. I'm talking about the Navi Shir.
I don't know. I don't know a lot of people going to. Are you know a lot of people going to that shir?
I don't think I'm going. I don't go. I don't go dafka to eat meat. That's not my shita.
Right, I agree. I don't think there's going to be a lot of us from the shir that are going.
Okay,
to.
so let's do 8 o'clock, which is because after mincha 7:30.
Yeah, and 5 o'clock. You want to do 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock? Because I'm not sure.
Let's do 5, just in case people want to go to that thing. That way, because it's way earlier. I mean, because it's at 5 o'clock. There's no barbecue then.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, yeah, 44.
Say again.
We
Yes.
are now in 40.
Mem.
Mem Dalet.
Yep.
The lukma begazlan. The more it says, we discussed the case where you can't testify on behalf of your friend. Why do we have to say that it's a case where a Goslin sold it to somebody? The lukma begazlan himself. He won't be able to testify on his behalf either if he's got to collect a piece of land from the guy who stole it from him. So the Gemara says the reason why you have to say mochar legazla mishum de kaboy Mr. Seifa, because it had to be consistent with the Seifa. The ratio was if it was like a field or a house, the Seifa was mochar lo para mochar lo tolis. There we said he's allowed to give testimony, and that's dafka shemochar. That's a gazan who sold it to somebody. The havalei. Then you have two things. Yeush, when somebody steals something, the original owner's abandoned hope of getting it back. And Shina Rishus. Once the Gazan sells it, it's now changed to Rishus. And then you have no right to get it back. It becomes the other person's possession. The one who was stolen from loses all of his chus. So he's not a nogeh b'davar. He can give a testimony. He can give testimony on behalf of the person who bought it. But if the Gazlan had not sold it and he's going to directly deal with the Gazlan, where the Hadrelay there's still a chiyuv for the Gazlan to give it back to the guy, then he's nogeh b'davar if he gives testimony. So toneration nami shemocha. So that's why in the Reshit also was talking about a case of a mocha. Really, that case could work with the Gazan directly. But since the Seifa was dealing with metaltalin, the Reshit all had to be talked about a case of sell. Afraid to come over Seifa Nami, need to be Aish Migufe. I don't understand. Somebody has an item stolen from him. Fine. He's miyayish that he's not going to get the item back. But he wants to get paid back for the value. He might, through Yeush and Shina Rishus to Rishonim explain, he loses his chus to get the chayfetz back, but he has a monetary claim. So then he's still in the Gabadover. He should not be able to testify. Lo tzricha de mis Gazlan. Oh, the Gazlan died. Once the Gazlan dies, there is no debt that's owed. It means the Yorshim don't have to pay the debt of their father who stole something. It's not. Somebody stole, and he used the proceeds to feed his children, or v'niach lifneim, or he left the item b'Yerusha after he died. The sons, there's no chiyuv to pay it back. The Torah makes a diuk. It's the Gazlan who has to ve'yeshiva sakzela, but not the Yorshim. So then, therefore, since there's no requirement to pay it back, the guy can give testimony because he's not a nogeh b'davar. Break the Gemara, the lukma b'yoresh. Okay. Our Mishnah set up, or the Rav Shesha set up the case that the Gazlan sold something, sold to another party. Why not say that the case is a Gazlan who died, and then so the Nigzal, if it's an item, he can be made in that case, because we said there's no requirement for the Yorshim to pay it back. That's good according to the opinion that a Yoresh, he's not considered like a purchaser. He stands in the feet of the guy who gave him the item in Yerusha Shapir. initially, before the guy died, he had a chiyuv to give it back to the person he stole it from. Elamanda Rishus Yorish Kershus Lokech Dami. But someone who says that a Yorish is like a purchaser, Mike Lememar. Lord Kashle Labaya. The Mishnah said, "B'nei shach v'yuso lo v'enach v'yuso lo."
Freezing, freezing. Ernie,
Frozen again.
no, but the other day he said it was me. And the problem is he's
Mario, it's always you. Don't worry.
he has very bad reception, except
He needs to
the-
get Eero, you know.
I must have some problems with my internet here today. Don't know.
yes, the other day you had it also. It's that room, Ernie. You get good reception in your dining room, but not in the kitchen or the den.
One second. Wonder why that is.
No, it's the way it goes in the house. You need to get some extenders, Eero or something.
Mesh. It's now frozen again.
Yeah, when he walked.
Not in my house.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm back to my regular room.
Should be all right, Ernie.
So we said, Abaye had explained our Mishnah that the difference between the Reisha and the Seifa, the Reisha, there's achrayas. You sell fields or houses with a guarantee that if a creditor takes that away, you have to make the guy who bought the field from you whole. And by Metatlin, that doesn't exist. But the way you're explaining, it's not achrayas or not achrayas. It's whether the Goslin has a requirement to return it to you or not to return it to you. So the Lashon of the Mishnah is not correct. Ella, the way to explain the Baraita is like this. Kirabin bar Shmuel, Sham Rabin bar Shmuel Mishmei to Shmuel. Hamocher Sorel Chaveiro. Even Shelo Bachrayas. Reuven sells a field to Shimon without Achrayas, meaning Levi comes to take away the field from Shimon. Reuven has no responsibility to make Shimon whole. Still, a maid lo allowed. Reuven cannot give testimony for Shimon. Somebody else comes and claims that, Reuven never had Bailis in that field. It was I who owned it. Even though he has no requirement to pay him if the field is appropriated, he's still Nogeya. Not like we said before, because if Shimon gets to hold on to the field, Reuven's Balchov has the ability to go and collect it from Shimon if Reuven doesn't have money to pay him. So he is a Nogeh B'Dover. Dafke B'Bayis saw that. But that's a house or a field because those assets are available to a creditor to appropriate if they come to the guy who borrowed money and he doesn't have cash to pay him back. So he can take a field even if the field was sold, as long as it was done after the date of the loan. Aval por vitalis lo, my boy. Aval por vitalis. So by a metaltalin, like a garment or a parav, lo my boy bistom, not only in a case of a stam loan, de lo mishtab delay, a regular loan, and the guy doesn't own land, the guy who borrowed, but he only has metaltalin, those items are not used for security against the loan. My time, because metaltalin ninu. Metaltalin are not leaned to a creditor. Bava gav the cost of lay, even though so that was a case of stam. But let's say you wrote in the star, like we say in our ksuba, that miglima sha'akatfoy. Our ksuba says that we sign to our wives that we have to pay her all the things we owe her, mizonos, clothing, this, that, and that we obligate ourselves even from the shirt off our back. Meglima da al katfoy means from the shirt of our back. So even though there's a star that says that, fine. When you specifically mention that, then there will be a shibud, but those items have to be extant. They have to be in existence. And they have to be in the possession of the borrower. Of a list of beinayu, but if he doesn't have them, low. So therefore, this Reuven has no negia to testify on behalf of Shimon, because his Balchov cannot collect from Shimon. And the third possibility, afilu maso apoitiki. Apoitiki is where you designated a specific metatalin item as method of repayment. Still low.
I always thought that poetiki was for properties, not for metaltalin.
Even metaltalin.
Oh,
Here will be your ability to because now we're talking about par or talis. We're not talking about so a poetiki can be even a specific item. Even so low, the Balchov cannot collect from it. My time, no? Kirova. Asos Abdoi Apoitiki. Let's say a person had an Eved Kanani, and he said, if I don't repay the loan, you can collect my Eved. Right? Even though he sold it to somebody else, Balchov Goivim. The Eved, yes, he can go and collect as payment. But Shor v'chamoiroi, but an ox or a donkey, apoitiki umachro. You see, Mario, very good. You remember that in general, apoitiki also is a field, but you can appoint a shor v'chamor as an apoitiki, and then let's say you sold it, ein balchav govet mimenu. The creditor cannot collect my timer. So an eved high isle kola, it has a call. People know about it, like a piece of land. The news spread. Vaha less like kola, but other metaltalin doesn't have a call. So you better be careful as a lender. Somebody tries to designate a metaltalin, even as an apoitiki, as method of repayment, you don't have any real rights to it. If he goes out and sells it to somebody else, your earlier lien has no koyach, because it's not meshubit to the balchay. There is a concept of metaltalin agav karka. We know if you have a metaltalin on a field, so sometimes the field can have a shibud if it's connected to the metaltalin. Maybe the borrower was makne to the malve, the metaltalin agav karka, and in that way, the metaltalin is sort of treated similarly to karka, just like karka has a shibud. Maybe in this example, metaltalin also has a shibud. The Omer Rava I akti le metaltali agav mekarki, kani mekarki kani metaltali. That if a person was makne metaltalin along with the land, the malva is kind of both. So there is a shibud. The borrower has to write in the start to the malveh, shalok asmachta ushalok tofta d'shtari. We also have this language in our ksuba, that it should not be like an asmachta star where you're not going to that, and not like the boilerplate language in a star, that's called the toifus, which is also doesn't have shibud rights. So maybe that's what's going on here. The guy who bought this para or talis, mochar l'alter, sold it to somebody else immediately. And therefore there was no time for him to be meshabed regarding other items. I v'lechesh dilma the iknehu. Maybe this was a shtar hakna. And that maybe from the beginning he was meshabed agav the karka, everything, things that are in his rishus now, and even things that are not in his rishus, or things that he will acquire in the future. And maybe therefore at the time that he acquired it, there was immediate shibud of the par or talis to the balchay. And then we're back to the problem that he can't give testimony because he's no gebedavar. Maybe since we did not offer that as a possibility, maybe Shema Minah, there was a famous shaila that had been left unanswered of this case of the iknei. It means he borrowed money and he said there should be a shibud even on things that I'm going to purchase in the future. Kana umachar, kana v'hoirish, lo mishtabit. We asked the question, is there a shibud or not? And then if there was a shibud, he'd have a negiyah, but he wouldn't be able to testify. Maybe this is the answer to that unanswered question. So, lo tzricha de ka'amri edim yadinin be'bahai d'lo havelei ara. You cannot come up with this teretz of a metatlan agav karka because there are edim to come and say, we know this guy never owned a piece of land in his life. So there was no way to be mishabit metatlan. So we've come up with this, after digging and digging and digging, that metatlan agav karka would create a shibud to a creditor. But if edim come to say that he never owned land, so there can never be an agav kinyan. So there could be an agav kinyan when he sold this para and talis, the creditor would never have rights to it, and therefore he could give testimony because he'll never be a nogeh b'davar. I v'amar of Papa avagav d'amar Rabbana. Hamoicher tzorel chaver shelo b'achrayus. Reuven sells a piece of land to Shimon without a guarantee, which means if Reuven's creditor comes to Reuven and Reuven doesn't have money, he takes the field away from Shimon. That is, if Reuven had sold the field to Shimon after the date of the loan. Now, if you sell it with achrayus and Reuven's creditor takes it away from Shimon, Reuven has to make Shimon whole. If he sells it without achrayus, Shimon is stuck. So, and Reuven's creditor comes and takes away from Shimon, Shimon cannot come to Reuven and claim repayment. Listen, I paid $1,000 for the land. Here, this guy came and took away the land. You owe me $1,000. No, it was sold without achrayus. But nimtza she'ena shelo. If in fact the land that Reuven sold to Shimon was not his, then chayzra love. There was never a sale. It's the same thing with the par and talis. If a guy's claiming, because that's the case, the guy's claiming, oh, you never had a right to sell the par and talis. It was mine in the first place. So again, it seems like you would be a nogeh b'davar if Reuven gave testimony for Shimon. That they could recognize as this animal was the child of the donkey of the seller, and he admits to it. And that kind of mechir is not going to go back because it was the child, it was not the original donkey. And therefore, that describes the Baraisa's case where the guy is not a nogeh b'davar and give testimony. Rav Zvid Amar afilu nimtza she'ein shelo ein chazir alav. You know what? Rav Zvid argues that Reuven sold to Shimon, and then Reuven's creditor comes and takes away the land. And even though it comes out that Reuven never owned the land in the first place, still ein chazir alav. Shimon can't go back to Reuven. The Amar leilach is vini l'chashlamach rayis. Reuven can tie it. Listen, that's the whole reason I sold it to you without a guarantee. I knew that I wasn't the owner. You took the risk, so you have to eat it. Let's see if that's the halacha. And if you know it was stolen. So Shimon cannot come to be tover to Reuven. We paskin like Rav Zvid. Amazing. Gufa. Reuven sells a field to Shimon without a guarantee. So again, if Reuven's creditor comes to take it away from Shimon, and then Shimon is out, he paid $1,000 for the land, but the land's been taken away from him. If it was sold without achrayz, without a guarantee, Shimon cannot come to Reuven to claim the $1,000 back. And therefore, a maid lo aleh. Reuven, the seller, cannot testify on behalf of Shimon. Because by giving testimony that it's his or not his or whatever, he wants it to remain. He's an ogebedavar to have it remain in Shimon's possession, so that Reuven's creditor can come and take the field away from him. However, the Gemara wants to know exactly what's the case. Heichi dami. And we will learn exactly what the case is tomorrow, God willing, in shul. And then we said 5 o'clock Sunday.